And what I was looking for is somebody to tweak the offense. I didn't need somebody to come in with a new offense. We need to have fewer tackles for loss. We need to have fewer sacks, which we had fewer this year than we had last year. And I thought we did a great job with our offense through 10 games, and the last 3 we didn't, because we even had better red zone touchdowns until the last 3 games. And we went back to some old problems, and they were better defenses. But I thought that we got soft, and we didn't finish like we needed to. So what we've got to do, I thought we got too dependent on Drake this year because he was so good and our skill was so good that we could beat most people just by throwing and running up and down the field. To win championships, you got to run the ball, and you got to stop the run. And until we can do those 2 things, we're not going to win any more games. And that's what I looked at when I addressed what we were doing. So we made John Lilly the run game coordinator, and I hired a guy named Chip Lindsey that worked with Coach Larry Porter at Auburn. Gus Malzahn really does a great job of running the ball. Coach Lilly is a run game guy from Georgia and the NFL. So then you add one of the best line coaches in the country that has done it everywhere he's been, Randy Clements, to the group. And Randy's very physical. He's old school. They knock him off and run north and south. And there's no sideways stuff. His zones are knock the down people into the linebackers. So I was trying to look at how do we fix the red zone offense. One of the things you do is run the ball better. And that's what I was looking for. We've got a great passing game. And then I needed to have a guy that could fit with the offensive line coach I was hiring that was going to be more physical and redo our running game. And at the same time, he could get along with a guy in the passing game. And I kept hearing Chip's name come up. I'd been around Chip. I'd met him some. Chip really believes in the air raid system. We want to keep it. We want to keep doing the things that we're doing well. I had long and good talks with Drake, and he said, Coach, let's get somebody who can teach me, and let's get somebody who will keep the great things we're doing on offense and can add some things. And as I looked at it, Chip was the perfect one for that. He's a great teacher. He's got 2 guys in the NFL that are quarterback guys. He and Randy Clements are very good friends. They've always wanted to work together, and they're very close in their philosophies. I hate the WRAL system and the Malzahn system and the air raid system. It's really who's got the best players, and who's going to figure out how we get the ball to our best running backs, and who's going to figure out how to get the ball to the tight ends, and what about the Drake? How do we protect him better? So these 2 guys kept coming up, and then Lonnie Galloway, I made him passing game coordinator because Randy has agreed to keep basically the same terminology. He agreed that we're doing so many great things in the passing game. He didn't want to fix it. He wanted to tweak it. And I didn't want somebody coming in and starting over. I didn't want somebody coming in with their system. I want this system to get better. And that was very, very important as we were moving forward. I also looked at, I thought it was very impressive that Chip had 3 years at Troy, and his team this year was very, very good, so he can evaluate. They won 12 games. So 3 years to me isn't enough to be a head coach and get a program in the place where you want it. When you take it over, it's yours and it's different. And you've got whatever problems were there when it started, and you got to fix them. And obviously, his team this year was one of the best teams in the country. So really, really proud of that. When I coached against Randy before, they could run the football. And that's what he wants to do. And he started out the interview by saying, run the damn ball. He had a hat that all the linemen wore that said, run the damn ball. And he had a T-shirt on that said, run the damn ball. So I said, I got it, man. I'm in. Now let's start and go further with it because he does such a great job. He's a tremendous teacher. And again, I don't need drama. I don't need guys that want their system. I need guys that want to fix things. And And then the other thing in the hiring process is Drake got offered a lot of money to go to different schools, and it's tampering. It's 100% tampering, but he got offered the money, and he decided to stay. So for the first time in my career, I had him talk to a couple of the candidates I was talking to, because it was important for me, not that he hire, but that I wanted his opinion before they got here, because he decided to stay, and he could have very well left, and most people would have left. And he believes in this place. He believes in this university, and it's his school, and that's why he stayed, or he would have gone if it had just been about the money. So I promised him I would get him a great teacher, and would help him with footwork, and would help him with his throwing motion. And Chip is a great teacher of quarterbacks. And we talked to his 2 pro quarterbacks. We talked to other people he's been with, and they felt the same way. And Drake's really excited about him. And Drake and I had strong conversations before we move forward with this, because the better Drake is, the better we are. And like I said, Drake didn't hire him, but he sure approved him. And that was very, very important to me as we were moving forward. Also, we're in a world of transfer portal. We're in a world of kids transferring out. We're in a world of transferring in. We're in a world of recruiting. So I needed somebody here. And I needed them here as soon as we can to talk to recruits. I needed somebody who could talk to receivers that we're recruiting. So it was important that I move as quickly as I could and still be sensitive about bowl games for other people. Chip did not call the plays at Central Florida last year, so it was easy for Gus to let him go, because Gus calls those plays. So I didn't disrupt the Central Florida staff. And Randy, we waited till after his bowl game, Saturday night, before he came. But now it's really helpful. Chip's been here since, I think, Thursday night. And they're not coaching, but they're on the field. They're sitting in meetings, they're listening, they're getting to know kids. And then Randy came in last night late, and he was at practice all day today. So it's been good for them to get to know the kids, get to call all the recruits, get to get involved in the transfer portal recruiting, and help us move forward. So it's working really, really well. They will go home tomorrow, and then both of those families, the Clements and the Lindsays, will meet us at the bowl game and spend the 5 days out there with us, not coaching again, but getting to know the players and the coaches as much as they can. The Holiday Bowl is Tier 1 bowl. It's the highest rated bowl in the ACC other than the Orange Bowl. I'm very proud that they chose us. I've been there 5 or 6 times with Texas. It's a great place to be for our players. They'll love it. I think the average temperature is going to be about 75, maybe 65 at game time at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a little bit different than this morning at practice. And I wanted a tough opponent. We got to keep playing them. I know very few people are going to give us a chance, and people don't think we can win. We got to keep playing better people. We got to upgrade who we are, and that's what we wanted. We want this program to be a prominent program, and you can't do it by picking easy teams in bowl games and beating them. You got to play the best to be the best. It'll be a load, and we got it, but I still feel like that's the best thing for us to do. Lonnie Galloway is going to coach quarterbacks and receivers and call plays. And Rob Everett, a young analyst, was moved on the field, and he'll coach quarterbacks during the bowl game. John Lilly's helping with the offensive line, but we've got Caleb Pickrell, a young graduate assistant that's coaching offensive line. So guys are really resilient. They're just moving forward and doing the things that we need for them to do. I do think that in college football we need to look at changing the schedule back like it was in recruiting and have the second signing date. I would rather see it that coaches can't move until after their last game. It's very unfair to the players to have half your staff leave on one side of the ball. And don't have your play caller, you don't have your offensive line coach, and it happens all across the country. I had to bring some in here. So I think it'd be better like the NFL, where we wait till after your last game before you can leave. and then don't have the early signing date because it didn't work like we all wanted it to, because now coaches are changing and kids have already signed, and they want out. So slow it all down a little bit and move it back and make sure that it's what it should be. Coaches aren't even calling asking for permission anymore, which was really important in integrity when I was growing up in this business for years. I still do it, but coaches are walking in and saying, I'm leaving and going to another job on the spot, and you're sitting there saying, what do I do this afternoon? Without any time to prepare. So I'd like to see it where we go back and do things right with integrity and call and ask permission to talk to a coach and have a day or two to think about it before somebody just walks in and says that they're leaving. We'll leave on the 23rd, yes, we'll leave on the 23rd. We'll have Christmas out there. We had Christmas at the Military Bowl, and it was fun, and the guys will enjoy it. We'll let them go home after tomorrow's practice, and they will actually have a Christmas at home that they can have their makeshift Christmas, and then we'll all go out together on the 23rd. We have some graduates that are going to play in the game, and that'll be the last game that they will play with us. Antoine Green will obviously play in the game and then go to the NFL. Brian Anderson has done a great job for us. This will be his last game. Ed Montelis has decided that this will be his last game. He's had enough football, so he'll play and then go into the real world. Obi Agbuna, I think he wants to be a doctor, so he'll play in his last game and move forward. Jaleel Taylor's playing in his last game. All these guys are graduates, and then I think Jaleel's going to go ahead and play somewhere else if he can. Dante Balfour, Kendall Carr, Dontavius Nash, and Keyshawn Silver are playing in the game, and then they're in the transfer portal, so they will transfer. We allowed the guys to play in the game that have done everything right to help us get to the game. And if they want to transfer to get more playing time, I totally understand that, and they have been great. They've worked really hard, and they've prepared to try to help us win the game. Awesome.
Can you run those over again? I'm sorry, I missed one.
Which ones?
I got Dante Balfour, Kendall Carr, Keyshawn Silver toward the end.
Dontavius Nash.
And they'll all play in the bowl game?
They'll all play in the bowl game.
Okay.
Now, I tell you all that, and we're over a week from the bowl game, so it could change. But as of today, in my life, they will all play in the game.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Okay, nope, that's good. Awesome Richards he and Corey Gaynor are checking their status with the NFL, and that doesn't have to happen till the 14th of January when they declare. So Coach Moody is working with them and their families to try to figure out exactly what their status is so they can make a decision of whether they want to come back or not. Cedric Gray has told me that he is 100% coming back, which is great news for us in North Carolina because he's one of the best players in the country, and he wants to come back and make sure he has a chance to finish this thing right. It's a crazy time for head coaches, and I think this is the other reason we need to look at when you're trying to have coaches leave and coaches come. You think about it, we got the transfer portal, so you got some going out, you got some coming in, so we're recruiting transfer guys. You've got your normal recruiting. You've got practice for your bowl game, so you practice in the morning. You go out to see the high school kids and who have already come in to visit, and then you come back and host transfers, and you're trying to recruit your own team to keep guys on it so they won't transfer. And the guys that are transferring, you're trying to help them find the right place. You're hiring coaches at the same time, and then you're dealing with NIL, which is completely out of control in recruiting. People are absolutely purchasing people in recruiting, and they're purchasing them off your campus. Our Heels for Life, which is our collective, they do it right here. You're not supposed to offer people money before they come to your campus. You're not supposed to do it for play. You're supposed to have them earn the right through the collective and appearances to gain opportunities. That's not happening in a lot of places, and I'm so proud of Heels for Life that it is happening here. We're doing it right. We're doing it fair, We actually had a recruit in the other day that was a transfer, and he went to another school. We thought he was coming here. He called us after he got there 30 minutes. He said, "Coach, they offered me this, this, and this, so I'm going." He didn't even see the campus. He just got off the plane. So I hate it, but cheaters cheat, and that's the way it is out there. And they are actually just purchasing kids, which I hate. And I don't think, and there is some that are saying now that a lot of the promises that are being made aren't being fulfilled. So we're going to see lawsuits, and we're going to have guys that don't get what they wanted, or they didn't play well enough and they're not going to pay them what they said they were going to pay them. But the NCAA needs to look very, very closely at tampering and that people who are paying guys up front and not going through the collective and doing it the proper way, because it is completely out of control.
Question on that. With all the tampering going on and Drake's value is obvious, does the Heels for Life get involved with him in terms of, would they get some other schools talking to his family and they had to do something?
Right. Art, I don't know that because I'm not supposed to be involved. So I stay completely out of that. Heels for Life, they have a boss, Graham Boone, who's a Morehead scholar that was here, that was an agent. And what they do is visit with our young players through the NCAA rules, and they're doing it exactly right. I don't know how many players on our team are involved with Heels for Life, and I don't have any idea of the opportunities that any of them have. And that's the way it's supposed to be done. So I'm staying completely out of it. So in closing here, tough game with Oregon. Again, they lost their offensive coordinator. We've lost ours. Again, I'd like to see that adjusted so we could have a better opportunity. Kids have practiced hard. We're going to have 12 practices for this bowl game. We'll only have 15 in the spring. So this is a great opportunity for a lot of young guys to get work that haven't gotten them before. This morning, Coach Clemens sat and watched the offensive line. It's for him to be able to see those guys and talk to them, meet with them individually before we start in January is just invaluable. So excited about the two hires. I think they fit us perfectly. I'm looking forward to tweaking the offense, keeping the passing game like it needs to be, but we've gotten soft in the running game. I remember Coach Bryant got beat by Vanderbilt when he was at Alabama, and quarterback was like 4 for 24, 4 for 28, something like that. And Coach Bryant made the statement after the game that I'll never ever be in a football game again where I let the performance of one guy get me beat, and that puts too much pressure on your quarterback. So you've got to run the ball, and we did that well with our two great backs when we first got here. We've never run the ball well on the goal line, and that's one of the major things I want done. I want us to get tougher. I want us to get more physical. I want us to have more downhill runs and therefore produce fewer tackles for loss. A running game is a quarterback's best friend because it's harder to get a pass rush when you're having to stop the run. The last time North Carolina played a Randy Clements offense, they ran for 685 yards. So they know what they're doing, and that's why he's hired. And he and you look at he and Chip, their relationship. They've always wanted to work together in that room, and not wanting to change everything, and even working to keep a lot of the similar verbiage with the offense, and being physical in the running attack from Malzahn and from the WRAL system. And Chip, you'll when you meet him, he's a relationship guy. He's going to make things work. So able to not bring your ego in here and want to change everything with an offense that's 75-80% really, really good. We just need to run the ball better, and we got to score more points in the red zone. Questions?
Coach, who are some of the schools that offer Drake money?
I can't say that, and don't ask Drake. He's a young guy, and it's uncomfortable for him. You know who they are. Just look at all the ones that are getting the top recruits. They're the ones paying all the top money. So just you can figure that out. Take 2 of those 10, and you're right. You got it. It could, and probably more than the 2 that I know of.
A quick follow-up, though, isn't the best way to kind of expose what's going on and eliminate what's going on, putting pressure on them by giving us some information so we can share that and kind of expose what's going on?
It's a great question. The problem is it's all done through agents, and they would absolutely say it was a lie.
So there's no paper trail?
There's no paper trail. There's no way to prove it. It's all agent to agent.
Coach,
So-
with Phil Longo's decision to leave, we haven't talked about that. When did you find out? What was that process, the conversation y'all had? And then your thoughts on just he's been really great at UNC for 4 seasons.
Yeah, Ross, he did a great job. Like I said, I want to score more touchdowns in the red zone. I think, God, Ross,
So it was Wednesdays when it broke that he was leaving.
he did say it Wednesday. I think he called me Tuesday night leaving a house and told me he was going to Wisconsin. I was leaving a recruit's house, and he was texting me while I was in the house. And then I walked out, and he said, hey, I'm going to Wisconsin. And I said, well, I'll see you tomorrow. So, and I said, you're going to take Jack with you, I guess? He's your guy? And he said, yes. I said, okay. So the next day I got back to the office. I talked to Drake. I talked to Phil. I talked to Jack, and they were gone. So that's how fast it happens.
Did you have any inclination it was happening a couple weeks before?
No.
He was talking to English before?
No, not one word. I knew that Phil was a friend of Coach Fickle's.
To add to that, has there been any surprises in the amount of transfers from coaches to players that you've experienced? Is it kind of unexpected for you?
No, if you look at it, there's transfers everywhere. I don't like that we've gotten so many transfers across the country. And what's happened, and I was very honest with our players, but what's happened is I've told our players, life's too short. If you're not happy, go, and I'll help you go. And all but 2 of ours left because of lack of playing time, really. And those 2 is just different circumstances, and they're great kids, and I don't want to talk about it. But I mean, I was talking at lunch today with some that went to visit this weekend after our Saturday practice. And how's your visit? Can I help you? And do you need me to call a coach? And it's just different. It's just absolutely different. I had some this weekend come in this weekend we've played against this year. And I said, man, I watched you against us on film yesterday. You look real good. And I know you hate us. So I know this is kind of uncomfortable with you coming in when you're told how bad we are all the time. We're bad people. And they just laugh and cut up. So college football's in a real different spot than it's ever been in. And there's some good things about the NIL for sure, and there's wonderful stories. I wish the ones that don't go by the rules wouldn't tarnish that and make it look worse. There's some great things about the transfer portal. I wish we could tweak it differently and change it some so there aren't so many. It's just amazing. Every time I turn on a bowl game now, yeah, he transferred from. It's just different. And at the same time, it gives you a chance to upgrade your roster. I mean, if we have a second teamer leave and a first teamer come in from another school, we can have a better team that you didn't recruit for 4 years. And another problem with it is high school recruiting. Every high school I'm going in, the high school coach says, I've got a really good player, not a great player, a really good player that would have gotten scholarship offers his entire life. And now the coaches are telling him, we're looking in the portal first. If we don't find what we want, we'll come back and look at you at the second signing date. So we're really, really hurting high school recruiting. And then you add the COVID year to it. I mean, we got some guys that are going to have 6 years. And with the COVID year, that takes another scholarship away from a high school player. So it's we got a lot of things that need to be fixed.
So what's your policy, is there a policy if someone enters the portal, tests the waters, don't like it, wants to come back, will you take it back? What's your policy?
I haven't. There's only one guy that has done that, and that was Day Hollins, and he went in and said, hey, I saw a couple of defensive backs are leaving, can I come back? And it was immediate, and I said, sure. But my plan is if somebody decides they're not happy and they want to get in the portal and they go visit and they're looking, then I'm going to help them get a spot, because I'm filling those spots. They're filled up fast. So if you're leaving, you date, I date. You look for a spot to go, I look for a spot to come in. So that's just life. It's the way it is.
Bill said that his process would take about 36 hours before he made the final decision. I guess it's probably going to let you know. Do you have a list of guys who might be interested in case he left? Or because the way things are happening now, do you need to have that list?
Yeah. I keep a minimum of 10 names at every position. And I actually, I'm not going to give you the names. I'm the only one that knew the process. So when all the guys on the websites had those names come up that Jeremy would bring me, I'd say, I don't know how a guy can consciously get on there and say, I know that, when it's not happening. So I talked to 2 guys seriously about the offensive coordinator's job. I only talked to one about the line job. And it didn't take very long. Neither one of them took very long. But I keep 10 names. Pat and I keep them. I keep them active because I was sitting watching somebody last year and I had them on there as a defensive coordinator, possible defensive coordinator, and I think they gave up 70. I text Pat and said, scratch him, he gone. So we constantly update it and go up and down, and it's not just the best guy, it's the best guy that fits who we are and who we can pay. Some guys now, some coordinators are making $2 million, and we don't have that budget. So it all just has to fit with what we need at the time.
With your conversation with Chip, you had mentioned a few minutes ago about how some coordinators, when they have an ego, they don't have their system. How did that conversation play out when you said, look, we like what we have, we just need to tweak it to think your guys' tweak it?
He said, I love the system. He's a football junkie, he's a high school coach, and he said, I've watched all your games. I love Drake. He said, you're doing some amazing things. I wouldn't want to change those things. He said, I think I can help some in the running game. And he said, we'll look at the verbiage. I'd want to keep it for Drake and the players and the coaches that are there. So every time I would have a longer conversation with him, I was more convinced that he was the right guy for this program at this time.
As a quick follow-up to that, so the work that the guys are doing right now preparing for the ball, the offensive guys, especially the young ones, what they're doing now is what they're going to do in the new year after this season, including you guys get ready for the spring.
Yes.
For them, they're not losing out right now because things are going to change. It's all going to stay the same.
No, the offensive kids are really, really excited. Even the offensive linemen, the running backs are more excited that we're going to go back and get back to where we were or better in the running game, because we just got away from it.
Mack, when you were talking with Chip and Randy in the interview process, did they give you the implication that, if you hired one, you need to hire the other, that they were a package deal?
No, it was really interesting though when I was talking to Randy, because you want to hire an offensive line coach and a coordinator that fit and work together. It was really interesting when I was talking to Randy, he brought Chip's name up. And he was talking about guys he'd always liked to work with, and in fact, that's Chip's family. So hi, guys.
Are they available?
Yeah. You want to come to? They could probably handle the press conference better than I could. They've been around this coaching stuff the whole time. But he absolutely did that. And then when I talked to Chip, I said, Randy, and he said, oh yeah, man, I'd love to work with Randy. We've tried to make that work our whole careers, and we got the same thoughts and same philosophies, and we're good friends, and we'd like to make it work. And then I love the fact that Chip was a head coach. He's been in my chair. He understands the questions and the problems and the pressures you've got, and he'll want to help keep those out of my office. And that's really important as well. So now I've got a head coach running the offense, a previous head coach running the offense, and a previous head coach running the defense, and that really helps me. And Chip's a really good person with relations. He's going to be able to talk to everybody, and he's going to rally everybody around and then figure out what the best thing to do is. And I can tell he and the coaches are already, I watch them, they're high-fiving, fist bumping, laughing, cutting up, and it's been 3 days, so that's great progress.
You mentioned the involvement of Drake in the hiring process. Galloway, Coach Lilly, the other offensive coaches?
I actually had them involved, but you can get too many people involved. So I could tell they all have different opinions. So I cut them out, did it myself.
What are some of these things that you specifically wanted, sorry about that, what are some of the things you specifically wanted Chip to be able to come and teach Drake about the game that you liked that Chip knew?
Fundamentals. Drake wants somebody to work with him on his footwork because he's such a great player. He can throw off balance and awkward that most people can't do. But when he sets his feet, he's so accurate. So I think that would be one of the biggest things. And then we've got to get back to being physical. This is a physical game, and you can't just throw it all the time. And I think when we could throw it, we won the games. And when people knew we weren't going to run it enough to beat them, Georgia Tech, we got unlucky. We had the 75-yard run. They called it back. But we had bigger runs than we had consistent runs. And we had too many 2nd and 12s, and that was one of the reasons we had to be so aggressive. And the other thing, running the ball will help our defense better. It'll keep them off the field as much. And so all of those things played into these two guys being the perfect fit for this place at this time.
The timeline of hiring Randy and Chip. Randy was announced the day before. Did you hire one before the other? Was Chip hired before Randy, or how did that go with the announcement?
Yeah, no.
Expected a little bit around.
Yes, it's a good question. I knew I was going to hire both of them. I didn't care which one announced first. Sometimes you've got to, Chip's got to get with Gus and visit, so it's not going. I can't coach. He's out recruiting. I can't get him till in the morning. Randy didn't have a coach because they had let Seth go, so he could go. He just tell him. And I always want to be very, very respectful that I do it right. I call the head coach. They have time to tell the assistant coaches, the head coach, and the players on their team before they read it. So me knowing I was going to hire both of those, the timing didn't matter at all. It didn't make any difference.
Was Chip consulted on Randy, or like you wanted to hire both and just knew they knew each other?
Yeah, I usually just, it'd be like us talking and talking to Chip and Randy. Talk to me about who you know, who influences your life, and who are you really like out there that you'd love to work with. And that's kind of where it goes with both of them. And then after I'd had great conversations with Randy, I said, Chip, Randy says that you all know each other. And he said, oh my gosh, Randy's the best, man. He is a great line coach. I'd love to work with him, and without me even asking. So it's just part of that conversation.
Going back to that, you mentioned Drake's involvement in the process. What exactly did that look like? In your career, how unique a situation is that to involve a player in the process?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done it before. I obviously talked to Sam because he was a recruit when I was hiring Phil. But I actually just told Drake, I gave Coach Lindsey his number and gave Drake his number, and I said, you all talk. I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to be involved with the conversation. And then I wanted Chip to come back and tell me how it went with Drake, and I wanted Drake to come back and tell me how it went with Chip. And that's what they did. And then if Drake had said, Coach, I trust you, man, I know you're going to hire who's best. I don't know. I didn't feel as comfortable. Then I probably wouldn't have hired him.
How much of a unique situation is that based on, how much of that is NIL driven, how much of that is just the fact that Drake has had the season he's had the success he's had, has a relationship with Carolina program?
Yeah, none of it is NIL driven. I want to win. If Drake had wanted to take the money and leave, I would have understood completely. Wouldn't have liked it, would have hurt our program. But he turned down a whole lot of money to stay here. So I couldn't have blamed him if he wanted to take it. So and the people that want to be negative, that are going to sit here and try to figure out of this 45 minutes what they really hate, will say he let some kid hire the coach. That's not at all what happened. I let Drake have a voice to me, like I let Coach Galloway and Coach Porter and Coach Lilly have a voice, and then I make my own decision. Pat Suddas worked with Chip at Auburn when he was with Gus in 2017. Gene Chizik never worked with Chip. I didn't talk to any of the defensive coaches about any of the hiring. I probably should have. I probably should have asked them if they have line coaches or coordinators they like, but I just kept it in that one room. And really after I didn't, Drake asked me, you tell me, there were two guys I've seriously talked to, and Drake said, you tell me, what do you think? He thought it was unique that hiring's so much different. It's so much bigger and so much more involved than hiring a guy. Everybody, I like this guy. Well, you don't even know him. What's his personality like? Does it fit with our guys? Does it fit in the room? Does it fit with our philosophy? Is his ego so big he's not going to talk to anybody else? And then Coach Larry Porter had worked with Coach Lindsey at Auburn as well. So I had some guys that had been in a room with him, and I checked out what I'd heard from other people with the guys that had worked with him. And then, again, Drake was wonderful. He said, God, you got a hard job, man. I said, yeah, I do. More than you. You got a hard job, too, so we're trying to make yours easier.
To get a little more clarity, was it just conversations, or was there maybe like some video stuff that you said, Drake, that he looked at so he'd get an idea of what Chip Lindsey's vision is so you could see?
I don't know. I think Pat watched some video maybe with Drake, but this year you couldn't watch Central Florida because Chip wasn't calling plays. So that wouldn't be fair to do that. So I think it was it's more personality. All these guys know how to coach. It's not that. It's who fits who you are, who has the relationships that they can have with the people that you're working with, and how does it work? That's what it is. Young lady, you asked me a question. I rudely was talking.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask, when was the first time that you were able to actually sit down with Chip and Randy together, and what that conversation was like?
It was actually this morning, because I interviewed both of them on Zoom, which is different than it used to be. You used to bring them in and take time. You don't have time anymore. I got recruits. I got portal guys. I got their coaches need to know. So I had I had 2 long conversations with Chip. I had a long conversation with Randy. I'd known of Randy a lot more just because I'd coached against him, and they ran the ball so well everywhere he's been. But this morning was the first time I saw them hug each other. And Randy, to show you how these assistant coaches work so hard, Randy gets through with his bowl game Saturday night, probably at 1 o'clock here. He's playing Boise and Frisco, and then they get beat 35-32. He's seeing these kids for the last time ever, and then he gets in his car, he drives back to Denton, he gets on a plane, he flies in here and gets in here last night at 10:30. I see him this morning at 7. And then he goes to orientation from 8 to 10, and then he's out there at practice, and I just had lunch with him. And I saw he and Chip spent a lot of time at practice together looking at personnel, and Chip was able to call him yesterday and say, here, ooh, I like this, and this looks good, and we got to fix this. And so it's just fun to watch all these guys work together.
I sort of went there, like preparing for the bowl game. I think folks get lost in all of else. You got a bowl game to play. Sort of elaborate more on their role in the next couple of weeks or this week getting ready for the bowl game. You said they're not going to coach, but what are they doing?
Yeah, they will not do anything. They will learn the offense. They will start looking at how they're going to tweak it and start playing with stuff. They're going to get to know the players, which is really important. I think, obviously, Chip's got fewer to get to know than Randy. So Randy will sit down with every player, all of his offensive linemen at the bowl game, and talk to them. I'm going to give Randy video this afternoon and let him take it back to Texas with him so he can study it, the practice video for the bowl, some video from the games. But I also don't want him to have any preconceived notions of they like this guy and they don't like this guy. I want him to start over and look at it, because it was interesting. Chip came in and picked out a couple of guys that maybe the other guys didn't like as much, and he said, ooh, I like that guy. And I thought, what a good thing for him. It's a new start. So I've told the kids, you got a new start, man. You got a new chance. So if it wasn't working for you, you have 2 coaches come in and don't like you. They're probably right. then you ought to look around. But this is a new start for you, new chance for you.
How come?
Can I get one?
Yeah,
You're firing them off.
I know.
You know, you talked before about how people in recruiting have used, he's going to retire, like against you, other schools have done that. Like, is that a question you've had to address from coaches you've interviewed to come here and coach? Do they want to know, like, you know, hey, how long have you got here? I've heard that you're going to retire. Like,
Yeah.
is the retirement thing a thing that you have to talk about
No.
when you're
No, they really used it the first year, which was interesting. I'd just gotten back. I said, God, don't have me dead. I've been here 6 months. When you win the Coastal and you're trying to win your 10th game and you got a number 1 draft choice at quarterback coming back, people aren't talking about you quitting. I'm not that dumb.
You talked about having receivers playing in their final games in the NFL, but you have a guy like Mack Brown, you have Josh Downs. Earlier in the year, you said that you had guys who didn't want to come to UNC, and then they decided they did after seeing how well Drake Maye was playing. Are you confident you guys are going to have a elite group of receivers next year, despite the talent you have?
Yeah, we will. It's also interesting that how much attention we have drawn from the transfer portal. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, I used to take them off, just you all see them, I'd see them, and I'd send them to Pat, and he's already evaluated them, and he can get in school. He can't get in school. So the way you recruit the portal is going to be a huge difference in whether you're successful or not moving forward. And it's all new for us, but it's real, and it's here. And we've just got to continue to upgrade the portal. Pat Sudis's position is now so important because of roster management. I mean, how many do you have? And then there's going to be another group of players leave right after the bowl game that haven't told their coaches yet, and they're going to be in the portal. So you can't jump and not have something available. And then there's going to be another group of players leave after spring practice. So there's really 3 waves. There's the wave now, the wave after the bowl game before school starts, and then the wave after spring practice. So it's just amazing. I've never seen anything like it. There's more changes in college football over the last 3 years than I've seen in my entire career.
Go back to the ball game. Are you getting a different sense of the team right now than what you had maybe a year ago with Sean? Are they a little bit more dialed in?
Yeah, I think so. We've practiced well, and we've talked a lot about last year. And I actually told them, if you're not going to be more excited than you were last year, I don't want to go. I was embarrassed, and we need to go play our best, and I think we'll get that.
A couple of questions on the transfer portal. Is Cam Kelly in the bowl game?
No. Cam wanted to go look at some places, and if he didn't like what he saw, then he wanted to try to get to the NFL. And I haven't talked to him. I'm not sure where he is, but we've told the guys that if you're going to play in the bowl, you could not miss a meeting and you could not miss a practice. And some of the guys wanted to go visit, and I totally understand that. Some would worry about playing the bowl game, getting hurt. Others want to get some more video. They want to show some special teams plays and practice video. And Ross, we're going to try to help these guys any way we can. So we're going to cut up some of them and send it out and pass rush drills. And we're going to do all that to try to help them.
And then, I mean, there's some names here that are transfer portal. There's some big recruits y'all had. A brief comment on a couple of these guys. You know, Keyshawn Silver and Robert Dilworth were both in that big class you had. Top guys in the state. They've both side transfer. I mean, redshirt freshmen who transfer. What are your thoughts on those 2 guys leaving?
Both of them want to play more, and that's fair. You know, Said and Power played most of the time. Rara played on dime. He wanted to play more at one start, so I got it. Rara's really fast, and he'll be great for somebody. We had talked to Keyshawn about moving to the offensive line. He wants to play defense, and I think that's fair. We've got a really good group of defensive linemen, 2 deep, and it's been hard for him to break into the lineup, so he wants to go somewhere else and try it, and he's great. I talked to him at lunch and asked him about what you're looking at, and can I help you, and let me know. And so we're good. It's kind of different. It's kind of strange, but
Yeah,
it's all working.
I mean, Tony Grimes is one of the biggest commits you've ever had. He's every 3 years. Your thoughts on that, too?
Tony's a great kid. He started for us for, what, two years and a third. I thought he did a really good job for us. I think he and his dad didn't feel like that what we were doing was best for him, so good for him. Storm graduated. I think he wanted to go have a shot somewhere else. So, that's what transfer portal's for.
I suppose it's better in the sense that before you had it, and were weak and wide receivers, some season back. What did you do? I mean, now you can go find something.
Yeah. Yeah, we've really struggled in our secondary. And we got to get better. We actually got better against the run at the end of the year. Clemson had, 50-something yards rushing, which I would not have dreamed at the first of the year we could have done that. So I think we're making progress with our front. We got to get more tackles for loss on our defense. We got to get more sacks. We've been talking about it for 4 years and we haven't done it. And we've got to do a better job. We don't force turnovers. We give up too many explosives. So all those things need to be addressed. And the explosives are usually the secondary. So we've got to continue to get better. Will Hardy played great in the bowl game, or in the championship game, had 14 tackles for a true freshman. I was so impressed with him. I'm really impressed with Marcus Johnson. Marcus Allen. Marcus Johnson's pretty good too. He was a great receiver for us at Texas. And those two guys played a lot at the end of the year, Ross, and I think that probably had some influence on some guys leaving too.
If you were really weak before the call, what were your options? Junior college? What were your options?
One more time.
If you were really weak in one area before the call, you looked at junior college, what were your options?
Yeah, we can't get junior college players in school very often, so it's you try to get a freshman to come in and start. I mean, that's just, or develop what you've got. I hate one thing now that people, in my estimation, won't develop players and be as patient with guys as they used to be. It used to take 3 years before an offensive lineman could even play. Now we're getting questions, why ain't he playing, man? Well, he'd been here 6 months, 8 months, something like that. So I'm worried that people are going to jump faster to get a better player in, and especially teams that are in trouble or about to get fired. I want to take an older guy that instead of worry about a mistake on a younger one that I don't have enough time to develop. So I'm really worried that it's not best for the young people on the team that what we're doing. I don't think it's healthy.
Coach, can we do two more?
We can do whatever you want, Jeremy.
Let's go with two more to get the chip in here.
They're excited. They haven't seen me in a while. So it's
But they want one chip. We need one. Mack, you're a relationship guy, and I was wondering if just with what you've been through with Phil leaving and hiring Chip and the process of trying to find the right coach for him, has that made your relationship stronger with Drake, do you think? Just all the stuff that doesn't have anything to do with, actually playing a game.
Yeah, it's another good question, Adam. I don't know that it could be stronger. I've known Drake since he was a kid, and I love Drake, and I loved watching him play, and I had so much pride in him this year. He just did an amazing job, and he's so humble, and he's so smart, and he's so good. But I do think that it probably made him understand my position better, and that I've got some really, really hard decisions to make in my position, and that all my decisions are going to be what's best for this football team. And most players don't ever get that close to a head coach's life to see that. But in fact, Sally and I sat and talked to him for an hour one day in my office. And he just laughed and said, "Whew, this is a lot more complicated, man, than I thought it was." And I said, "Yeah, it is. It really is." But I said, we're going, every time you hire, you got to hire better. And it's not about the name, it's about the person that can come in and produce. And that's where it's fun for me to hire. I like it. I like the process. I like trying to figure out all the pieces. I like meeting new people. So it's fun for me. So I never worry about losing a coach. You always appreciate what they do when they're here. When they leave, and they're going to leave, all of them leave at some point or another. And they're all going to do what's best for them, and that's totally fair. And when I was talking about, I wish coaches couldn't leave till after the bowl game, I'm not talking about Phil and Jack being bad. I'm talking about, I wish the process was in a position where coaches don't have to leave. No coach wants to leave his team. It's just right now it's the business, and it's what you got.
Talking about last one. Make it a good one. I'm nervous. Talking about the transfer portal, and talking about fit and coaches and coming in. How do you marry, since you talked about David, how do you marry the player in the portal versus what you want to do as a team and as a position? Need DBs, obviously, so you got to get bodies there, but how do you sort of select who you want in the portal to pursue based on what you have in your philosophy or Chisholm's philosophy?
Yeah, I think it's funny, Oregon and Georgia and us do exactly the same thing on defense, so I'm so tired of hearing people say they don't press enough. Well, Georgia did pretty good, and Oregon's all right. That's two of the best defenses in the country. So it's about how we play. It's not what we do. And what we do, Tommy, is we do it like a high school player, except you're seeing them play against a very good competition. When you see East Tennessee play Mississippi State, I mean, that gives you a good idea. And you try to take a player against the best competition that he's possibly got and see how that would relate to what you've got here and where it fits. And then he has to get in school, and that's difficult here. And then you have to bring him in and have a relationship with him and see, because older guys, it's really been different recruiting the younger guys and the older guys from the transfer portal. They're looking for different things. This young one's got a dream. This old one's already been there, man. It's a business decision. He wants to walk in and say, am I going to play? Where am I going to play? How are you going to play me? What are you going to do with me? So it's a very, very different process. Even our recruiting staff said, man, these older guys are easier to recruit because they know what they want. Young ones are all wondering and asking questions and what's this like? And when do I come? And these guys just want to come. They want to be here immediately.
Has the academic side of UNC been difficult in the transfer portal?
It is a great school, so we have to be really, really careful who we look at. So the answer would be yes, and graduate school as well. But you have to transfer 70 hours if they're at least in their third year, and they have to transfer into the college, each college, and that has to be approved by the admissions of each of those colleges. So we have absolutely no control. So when we're talking to someone, Tommy, we have to say, send us a transcript before we can even talk to you. And that hurts us with some because they're afraid that they can't get in. And then we're not in control of how fast that process goes. So if it takes 10 days, they probably go somewhere else because they're waiting too long. So we're learning, and the university's trying to help us, and we're trying to move as fast as we can.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all. Enjoy Chip and Randy.
Coach, has Sally been bothering you still about your steps? Are you getting them in with all the transfers?
I haven't. I'm losing weight, but not as many steps.
Gotcha.
It's probably stress weight.
Great stuff. Appreciate it. Thank you. 57 minutes.
I got 60 seconds.
Oh, just here.
Start off.
I was trying to keep it under 60. All right.
I will not be 57.
No, Chip will be shorter than 50.
Sure about that?
I was not sure.